Welcome back. It is Jim Urio and Jeannie Ives in for Dan Proft, and continuing with his typical Tuesday 7:35 guest, we have Mark Glennon. He is, of course, the founder of Wirepoints and a longtime friend. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, I wanted to talk to you about something I think that you've been talking about lately, and that is this whole Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and what they're doing, because they're getting lots of money from the state budget, but essentially they're a political organization.
Exactly right. Actually, Jeannie, I think you were the first one to write about this.
I did. Yes, I did.
6 months ago or something. But yeah, the Illinois Policy Institute has a good article about it. That together with earlier reporting, they've gotten some $11 million in one of those thousands of line items in the state budget that goes without scrutiny, that go to NGOs as we call them, non-governmental organizations. And there are a lot of chambers of commerce in there. Some are perfectly legitimate, but this one reportedly is clearly engaging in political activity. Its president reportedly has openly advocated for total amnesty for illegal immigrants. They run a service for providing services to illegals to evade ICE and all the rest and the usual. And, this is just another example of this massive constellation, as I've called it, of NGOs that are out there that need scrutiny. And we know now that the Department of Justice has started to look at that list, which you have published a version of the list on your site. And it's massive. Mm-hmm. Many of them are legitimate, of course. They're recognized charities, but many of them are suspect, and some of them should be looked at for potential fraud charges as well.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question, Mark? By the way, Wirepoints, I start my day with Wirepoints. Wirepoints is fantastic, and I appreciate it so much. But you said that some of them are legitimate charities. Why in the world would the state be deciding where our charity money goes either? So even if they were legit, and many of them are not legit at all, but even if they were legit, why should we even care about that? Shouldn't we be directing our own charity money?
Part of the problem with many of them, however, some of them are involved in social services for the poor and such, Catholic Charities, for example. And I think the reality is that some of those organizations can spend money more efficiently than the state can, because the state is bound by all its crazy rules and bureaucracy and everything, and the private sector has at least a little more latitude to run things efficiently. So they essentially outsource some social services to the private sector. But again, the prominence of problematic groups in that list that goes without scrutiny is a major topic unfolding across the nation. California is getting the most attention right now. But as I say, legally and otherwise, this is coming to Illinois.
Okay,
so
but you know what, Mark, let me just put some more emphasis behind what we actually are seeing. So Illinois Policy Institute, and I appreciate them, they're friends. They write this article, February 9th, 2026, Illinois lawmakers funded a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce connected to J.B. Pritzker. Its chief opposes ICE deportations. Well, first of all these chambers of commerces that are getting money are connected to J.B. Pritzker. He's funding them. But a year ago, I published a story on February 25th, 2025 at breakthrough-ideas.com, over $73 million just for local chambers and development nonprofits in the Illinois budget. And I list them. The Austin African American Business Networking, the Anderson Chamber of Commerce, the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, the Asian American Chamber of Commerce again. And I mean, these are two grants to the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, $250,000, $210,868. Belmont Central Chamber, Black Chamber of Commerce and Training Center, $500,000. Black Chamber of Commerce of Lake County, which I don't even think exists, over $270,000. Black Chambers of Commerce in general, $1.5 million. I mean, it goes on and on. Greater Englewood. I mean, we're talking about South Asian American Chamber of Commerce, a $3 million grant to them. I'm sorry, the Wheaton Chamber of Commerce is not listed, and I don't want them listed. But you get my point here. These are chambers of commerce. They should be getting no money from the state budget.
Zero.
In many cases, some of these quote unquote grants are for like, training programs. I'd love to see the report on how many people they actually trained and how many people got jobs in it. This is all a scam. This is get out the vote money for J.B. Pritzker. That's what this is. Mark? Agree, disagree?
It goes selectively. I mean, it doesn't go to some Republican group, or never, even if it's not overtly political in a Republican area or something. And I've talked to some of these people, and they say they haven't gone on the record for me, but they say they'll get a call from some political operative and say, hey, we need some of your people to turn up for this or that rally or do whatever, buy some tickets to this fundraising dinner. That stuff goes on all the time, and this is where their bread is buttered. They get their money from the state, so that's how it works. It's crazy.
There's nothing like I consider myself not very corrupt, but if all of a sudden I was in charge of running out $200 million to these different things, yeah, then probably I would probably pressure them into buying stuff for my kids' fundraiser and things like that as well. The point is trying to make is that we can't have them have access to this level of money because it always ends in some sort of corrupt thing. This whole thing is absurd. And again, I've said this earlier in the show, Mark, and I want you to comment on it as well. The notion that these guys look us in the eye and say we have a financial problem in Illinois. No, you don't. You don't have a financial problem at all. Just stop spending money like drunken sailors. By the way, drunken sailors get a bad rap. We always keep talking about them. I wish we had another metaphor, but what say you to that?
I'm all for drunken sailors.
Me too. Me too. Sound fun to me. But anyway.
Yeah, and the ultimate reason I think why this stuff doesn't get addressed is because the regular media boycotts it. Yep. If they read your article and if they would put a hand on Pritzker for once, which they never do, they could easily dig this stuff up too and write about it. I mean, the research has already been done for them, for God's sake. How often have they ever attributed any work, even though we've turned up good stories from you or from Wirepoints or Illinois Policy? They never do. And they will not lay a hand on Pritzker. Think of it. Name one place in regular media that's ever questioned Pritzker the way the press is supposed to. The News Gazette.
Are they scared of him, or are they bought off? What do you think?
Two things. Number one, they share his view of
That's right.
making Illinois the progressive capital of America. They are ideologues. Secondly, Pritzker paid $80 per vote. And $330 million he spent in two elections so far. That goes mostly into advertising. That's a huge number for them. So they're not going to infuriate Pritzker with another election coming up, especially.
Well, I mean, look, this whole effort to root out where your money's going that was ostensibly started by, Elon Musk and the Doge effort. I mean, obviously DeSantis has taken it to a new level too. He's come up with his whole transparency effort. You don't see anything of that happening in the state of Illinois because they want to stay in the dark about what the budget is doing. And by the way, this is one of the biggest things that a Republican governor could do in regards to getting us on the right fiscal footing. They could expose exactly where your money is going. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear it from fake Darren Bailey, who just decided all of a sudden to come up with some slick graphic saying that he's Doge Illinois, when, you know what? People like this Chicago City Wire, people like my organization have been doing this work for a couple of years now, literally putting out all the nonprofit grants for everybody to view. We've been doing it, Darren, not you. Stop grabbing a headline. And by the way, using my research, which other candidates are doing as well. Rick Heidner had the audacity to put out a tweet saying that, breaking news, Rick Heidner discovers $42 million going to the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights. He used my data. I had just written about that 2 weeks prior to that. He used my information. And so did other candidates. I put that out. I'm the one who connected them to their political activity. that they're doing that you can see across at every protest rally. Heidner literally used every single phrase that I used in my Facebook post and then put it out on his Instagram and took credit for something he knew nothing about, nor does he care about. So stop it with the fakery from Darren Bailey and Rick Heidner on this topic. You don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Yeah, Heidner's not alone, and you're not alone, Jeannie. Darren Bailey told me long ago, when he was first in the legislature, that the reason he got involved in politics was largely because of reading Wirepoints. And you said that in public, by the way. That was a major incentive. So, I guess we should be flattered, but oh, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, no, I'll add something, too, because, I'm not emotional about this. The fact that
I am
know,
emotional.
yeah, I know, but I try to not be. I'm supposed to be an analyst. But, I analyze the different candidates, and it's just so obvious that Ted Dabrowski, who understands a little bit about money, he was a bond trader. And by the way, people who are listening here, I'm taking no money from anybody. I just, the data points me to someone like Ted, because these problems, as I've always argued, they're totally easy to solve, the money problem in Illinois. Just turn off the spigot and figure out where we actually should be spending money. Ted could fix this problem in a year, except
Easily.
that there's a lot of interests that are going to be pushing back, as we saw in the federal DOJ efforts. But it's not that I think that Ted is a great guy and we're buddies, that's why I support him. He just knows about money.
Well, I'm here on behalf of Wirepoint, so I'm not taking sides on who to pick for governor. There's a lot of different reasons to make your pick. You go ahead and make your decision on that. But I just stick to the issues here.
No, and as well you should. Again, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you in a bad spot with that. So, and I don't. Yeah, I can say whatever I want. So I've been canceled before if people know my history. So I'm not as afraid of it being canceled again. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, I wish I had listened to you 6 months ago, Jim, when you were talking up copper. I think
How about it? Yeah, copper.
Price is up 40%.
Yeah, no doubt.
So.
I was talking copper, and for years I've been talking about copper, silver, and gold. And part of that is the irresponsibility of the federal government and the debasement trade, like we were talking about before. And guess what? It doesn't feel great to bet on the stupidity of the stewardship of our currency and make a ton of money. I much rather would have spotted NVIDIA 8 years ago. But again, it was pretty easy to win on that one.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we appreciate everything that you guys have been, researching for years now. And, even before Ted joined you at Wirepoints, I mean, you were a friend of mine and very helpful down in Springfield. And so, we did a lot of work on municipal bankruptcy stuff. And Jim and I have been talking about that sort of a little bit all morning long. And where do you see us headed in terms of that? I mean, what do you think is the financial outlook for some of our cities in Illinois? What about Chicago, especially?
Yeah, we've said it before, and we continue to stick by it. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better, because the public still just hasn't woke up to how serious our problems here statewide and in Chicago. And I pity whoever comes to office next, whether it's the mayor or the governor, because these problems are largely intractable. It's a matter, in my view, of disaster mitigation, not disaster avoidance. Chicago especially is in for a heap of trouble, and I pity the next mayor here. Disaster mitigation, when it's going to bottom out, remains to be determined. Everything resolves in economics, as you folks know. But that could be a really bad thing, and it could be a long way away. And so I wish I could be more optimistic than that, but I'm not.
Well, Pritzker's got his budget address coming up next week.
That'll solve everything, I'm sure.
I think we're going to see more of the same. I think he's going to ask for an increase in the budget, probably another $1 billion. And with that's it's going to require tax increases, because right now they're looking at well over $1 billion deficit just in the penalties that they're getting from the Trump administration in terms of reduced revenues, and actually a $770 million penalty for SNAP errors. So I don't know. I don't see any change in the legislature when it comes to spending.
Right. Trump is what he's going to say. It's all Trump's fault for cutting the budget. That's baloney, of course. The budget has gone up 37% just in the time he's been in office. Almost double what the inflation rate has been. Why don't we just go back to 2019, use that as a baseline, and say, why is this item going up? Why is that item going up? The population hasn't increased. There's no reason for the budget to. You think he's going to do that? Of course not. This is that's why our taxes have gone up, because the budget goes up, and he infuriates Trump. Some of Trump's vindictiveness gets turned towards Illinois. There's no surprises in any of this.
Amen.
All right. Well, he's Mark Glennon, founder of Wirepoints. Mark, thanks so much for always giving us informed commentary at this time on Dan's show. We appreciate you.
So happy for having me. Take care.
You
See
bet.
Mark.
Okay, and we'll be right back after this short break.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Attention investors, this affects you. Silver prices are exploding with